I will name another younger guy that I find interesting. At least, and another guy that is extension eligible this year.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring Jeremy Sochan to the table.
On my list.
So, okay, reasons why Jeremy Sochan like theoretically could be available, right? And why I think teams should call on Sochan. This is now a Spurs team that is quite connected to a number of like non-shooter, questionable shootery types, right?
Yep.
De'Aaron Fox continues to improve as a shooter, certainly as a pull-up shooter, but okay at it, right? Never going to be like the strength of his game. The speed is always the strength of his game. Certainly Steph Castle has questions as a shooter, and Steph Castle is better than Sochan. Honestly, I think we're just kind of at that point from a skill level perspective and everything that goes into it. Dylan Harper, we have some questions on as a shooter at the very least. I think that's like a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah.
The pull-up shot, particularly for a guy that's going to play on the ball a decent amount of the time, made 37% of his catch and shoot threes at Rutgers this year, but there remain some questions, especially early in his career, on what the shot will be. Finally, they've drafted Carter Bryant, and like Carter Bryant is probably going to take some time to shoot it. I think he will shoot it at some point, but beyond that, Carter Bryant plays very similarly defensively to the role that Sochan does. You can argue that Sochan like can go up the lineup a little bit easier defensively, and I think I would agree with that. But if I'm the Spurs, I might be looking at this going, well, okay, Carter Bryant can do a lot of what Sochan does already. I don't know if I want to really, pay Jeremy Sochan, $18 to $22 million a year or whatever it's going to take, whenever I can kind of keep flexible. And I have, a few of these younger guys already from, my machinations drafting to be able to go out and just be like, all right, like we got some dudes here. We're in a pretty good spot in terms of where we're at. So like, why would maybe we look to move Sochan for more future capital so that we can keep replenishing, right?
Yeah. Yep. No, I mean, he was one of the next names on my list, especially from that draft class. And, but I had a column of like why, and it was my short, but lack of floor spacing with other young players, and I think, a good friend told me, my pushback always with a guy like this is like, well, if you have a floor spacing big next to him, you can play him. It's okay. Right. And the pushback was, well, yeah, but then didn't you kind of take away the advantage that floor spacing big is giving you whenever you put a non-floor spacer at the 4 or the 3 or whatever? And it's like, that kind of hit me like, yes, it makes it available to play a Jeremy Sochan, but it takes away the ultimate advantage that the floor spacing Victor Wembanyama gives you when you put a complete non-floor spacer out there, or at least somebody that gets guarded like a non-floor spacer like Sochan is going to get guarded like, at least right now. I love his defense. I think he can be really impactful on that end. I think he finds ways to get paint touches. He can do a little bit off the bounce. They tried the whole point Sochan thing, didn't work. We know that isn't a thing, but I think he's a good cutter, all of those things. I think he's a good NBA player, but it does make you wonder with the shooting question marks, the Carter Bryant involved now, not maybe wanting to pay him. Is there maybe a move that could be made if there's a team out there that it still is going to have to be a team that has a floor spacing big, right? Like, or maybe you utilize him in a really creative way in a second unit or something like that. But he would definitely be a name that would be on my list of, hey, do they decide to go and do something here because he's not as much in the future plans as maybe a year or two ago?
So my vision for Sochan was always, can he be like this coming generation's Aaron Gordon? Right. That was always kind of what my hope was, like bigger physical wing who can actually guard wings, but also can guard up the lineup because he's quite strong and quite long in terms of his wingspan and everything. Being able to kind of deal with those physical, bigger bodies. Right.
Yeah.
So if you're a team that needs to match up with those guys, right, I think Sochan's like kind of an incredible guy to go target, because he is someone that is as skilled as he is. Now, like, again, this is where you have to be very specific if you're the team that's targeting him, right? like it has to be a team that like knows how to space the court, that really understands like, perimeter spacing from the big position and everything like that. I kind of love the idea of him in Memphis, honestly. Like, I think that would be like a really, really fun vibe. If you think Edey has a chance to shoot at all, and then obviously already have Jaren, I think you could play him with Jaren at the 4-5. I think that like if Edey ever shoots, you theoretically could make something like that work. And the thing I like about the Memphis fit with Edey particularly is Edey is so big and strong that you actually can't guard him with a 4.
Sure.
Like you can't really get away with what you're talking about in terms of like the pre-switch idea.
Yeah.
Where, okay, we're just going to guard the 4 for the 5 and, do all that stuff. Right. I think that would actually be really difficult to do with Edey on the court with Sochan. So you're almost always going to have to guard Sochan with the 4, and you're never going to be able to just like have a 5 camp out as a help man in the rim, at the rim.
So then the Gordon one is interesting. Obviously, Gordon's a better 3-point shooter. I was just looking even at corner threes, and Gordon's at 35% for his career. Sochan's still at 28. But what that made me think was, nobody's Jokic. I understand that. But is there a team that has a big man passer or runs through stuff through their big man enough where you could really utilize Sochan's like back, his cutting and his off ball movement and stuff like that, where even if that big man isn't a big time shooter, him just having the ball operating from like the top of the key, middle of the floor allows him to cut without like jamming things up too much.
Well, the second team I was going to bring up was actually Sacramento, because Sacramento is kind of kicking the tires on Kuminga, and they have Sabonis.
So I thought about Sabonis. Yeah.
It actually kind of works.
Okay. And so here's what I would kind of be interesting with that is now he takes those defensive matchups that I don't want Keegan Murray to have to take all the time. You have Keegan spacing the floor. You have other guys that can space the floor a little bit. That's kind of interesting depending on what they do with some of their other guys. Like, okay. Interesting one.
Yeah. And I mean, like, look, Oklahoma City wants to play 5 out. So like, I don't know that it totally tracks, but, and they're just not going to pay somebody like this. I don't think like their financial situation is going to get too onerous, but I think that there's like some interesting pieces there. Obviously, like the Pacers play like a very up-tempo style where I think that his ability to cut would be rewarded playing with Halliburton and playing with some of their other players. Like I think that he fits somewhat well there. Like I mean, contract wise for Sochan too, like I have no idea what the number is going to be.
Yeah.
Like this was one when we're going to do, extension previews probably after I get back from vacation somewhere in like the mid-September window. But I have you could tell me it's 16 million. You could tell me it's like 22, 24. Like I have no idea what to expect there.
Yeah, no, that's with the way things have played out this offseason. We haven't seen many of the 2022 class is like how many guys have, not a lot of guys have signed those, right? Like the max guys and then Jabari. And
this is normal for what it's worth.
Sure.
Like, this is completely normal. These things typically take into October, September to get done.
Yeah.
So,
but we haven't seen other guys. So it's like, what is the market, comparisons, stuff like that. So,
what about Atlanta? That could work too, actually.
Okay.
With Porzingis there, number of good passers, like with Trae Young and Jalen Johnson. It would be hard to play him with Jalen Johnson would be my kind of worry.
That was and I don't know that wherever he goes, he automatically is a starter. My initial thought there is like, he definitely is coming off the bench, but like you just talk about continuing to add defense to that wing room. You'd definitely be doing that.
Yeah. And like, he's better than Pat Williams. Like what about Chicago? Like, he would get fed with Giddey. They play,
super
5
fast
out right now. Booch. They like to play fast. I think that they're, I think there's a fit there in some respects. So like there are teams that I think could really value him, but again, like my vision is, can he be like an Aaron Gordon-y type that plays for a good team and then like really helps them elevate to the next level kind of thing? He's not as good as Gordon. Like I think people, look at Aaron Gordon and his numbers, in Orlando and kind of look some type of way at them. But, Aaron was quite good pretty quickly in Orlando.
Yeah.
That third year, even the numbers don't look totally different. Like he was averaging 13 and 5. I think Sochan's at like 12 and 7 or something. But, Sochan is a guy that I would really look at. I think he's probably going to play a role on a good team at some point.
Yep. Yeah.